A single film can consecrate an actor, but it can also bury him. It happens to stars who seem unbeatable, but also to youngsters embracing the illusion of glory. No one is safe, and some cases are absolutely infamous. Today we're going to remember movies that ruined careers. Demi Moore. In the mid-1990s, she was on top of the world. She had specialised in roles of strong and hot women, but she wanted to up the ante. She agreed to star in Striptease, the 1996 film, and she wanted to get even more into the role, so she had a boob job, just to get into the part, of course. The story was to be a drama about a stripper struggling to raise her daughter. However, it became clear on the set that nothing would be more eye-catching than showing the star scantily clad. Moore didn't mind. For that scene, she was paid $12.5 million, making her the highest-paid actress to date. What young girls now do on Instagram, she did in the movies. However, the film was a commercial and artistic failure. The sharpest criticisms were aimed at Moore herself, and she was never too well liked in Hollywood previously. But from then on, she appeared less and less on the big screen and secluded herself more and more inside her mansion. Eddie Murphy. This legendary comedian had a movie that ruined his career, but not for the reason you might think. In the late 90s, Eddie Murphy was the most praised comedian in Hollywood. To sustain his hot streak, he headlined The Adventures of Pluto Nash, a sci-fi adventure proposition set on a lunar colony. But Eddie had become arrogant and capricious. He demanded constant changes in the script to allow him to show off, a behaviour that drove the crew and the rest of the cast crazy. And thus the budget escalated to $100 million. This excess of arrogance and the division on set all took its toll, just as Professor Sherman's fatness took its toll on Will Smith's bald wife. The film was detested by critics, and it grossed a mere $7 million, going on to be considered one of the 10 biggest flops in Hollywood history, and so began a negative phase in Murphy's career. Although he voiced the donkey in Shrek and was nominated for an Oscar for Dreamgirls, he was never again the comic star that shone so brightly in the 90s. Still, he still promises or even threatens to return, like in his best days, with films like Norbit. Hilarious! Sean Connery. Some films fail so badly that they complicate an actor's career. But 2003's The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen caused James Bond himself to quit acting for good. The Scottish star is still considered the quintessential 007, and he starred in other classics, of course. But by the turn of the millennium, he was no longer enthusiastic about acting. He agreed to star in this adventure blockbuster just for the money, and also to see if there were any attractive young old guy lovers like Catherine Zeta-Jones on the set. His ill will showed on a very troubled shoot, and he argued all the time with the director, Stephen Norrington. There were even rumours that they came to blows. As if that wasn't enough, a flood destroyed the sets and delayed filming. The film's negative performance hindered the careers of its makers. Norrington never directed again, and none of the cast really took off. As for Connery, the fiasco prompted him to retire. He lived in the Bahamas until his death in 2020. And the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen is still waiting to be rediscovered. Halle Berry. Now, thanks to 2001's Monsters Ball, she became the first black performer to win the Oscar for Best Actress. Now, faced with such an achievement, it was no surprise that she was showered with tons of proposals, including some succulent ones from Donald Trump. But she chose the one that could elevate her as a popular figure, the easy one, the mediocre one, the one with money. We're talking, of course, about Catwoman, the solo film of the classic Batman villain. She prepared intensely to execute the action sequences and move with feline grace. Her commitment to the role was absolute. With a classic character and an award-winning leading lady, Catwoman's success was guaranteed. But it wasn't, and critics questioned the script and soon criticised Berry's performance. Halle won a Razzie, an accolade which did not go unnoticed by the Hollywood set. And she landed a record of sorts as the performer with the shortest time between winning the industry's two most prestigious awards. After that, she had a hard time bouncing back. She starred in some conventional thrillers, but without much repercussion. Perhaps she will be better focusing on modelling rather than performing. Shelley Duval. Stanley Kubrick's The Shining is a classic, and we all love it. But it ruined the career and the life of its lead actress. Shelley Duval had been excelling in film and even won an award at the Cannes Film Festival. Working under Kubrick's orders promised to be a huge career step. But playing Wendy, the long-suffering wife of the lead character Jack Torrance, proved to be a real ordeal. During the 13 months of filming, she had to endure the director's deliberate mistreatment of her in front of everyone to ensure that the crying and torment on screen would be real. An extreme method, one which caused her to lose her hair and suffer panic attacks and poop her pants like Tom Dumoulin, and then suffer extreme depression. Duval's discomfort lasted for years, to the point that she developed a personality disorder. She soon retired from acting, and in every interview she looked so emaciated. And she claimed that even if Kubrick hadn't treated her with such cruelty, she would have gotten the same result on film. Today, Duval would have been saved by the Me Too movement. Kevin Costner, a legend par excellence among box office flops. There are all kinds of movies that ruined the careers of their actors, but the case of Waterworld is the most emblematic of all. This delirious project was born as an idea of Kevin Costner, who in the 80s and part of the 90s had the world at his feet, as well as having all the mature women on the planet eager to be embraced by his beefy and muscular arms. He triumphed as the star of numerous hits, and in the Oscar-winning Dances with Wolves, he also proved to be a remarkable director. But with Waterworld, he wanted to double all bets and risk it all. The story takes place on water, which was a logistical hell. The expensive floating sets were difficult to move and then were destroyed by hurricanes. Every delay meant more expense, and shooting days went from 96 to 150. He fell out with the director Kevin Reynolds, and as the producer, he had lobsters and alcohol brought in to feast with the crew. But a budget of $100 million had been set, and it soon reached $175 million, a colossal figure for the time, especially when most of the money was spent on drugs for the actors and directors. With advertising expenses, the costs rose to $235 million, and then it all fell apart when the film grossed only $88 million in the United States. It recovered a little at the international box office, but the losses were incalculable. Costner's status faltered badly, and he was never again the star he once was. Now, since we at this channel want you to give us star status, why not stop by the screen clip? That's a video you're going to love. And also, you can subscribe to Celeb Highlights. Do it now!